Daily habits of people who always make their weekends feel productive, according to psychology. It's way too easy to let the weekend slip away. You start off with big plans. Maybe you'll finally tackle that side project, get some exercise, or catch up on reading, but somehow, Sunday night rolls around, and you're left wondering where all the time went. The idea that weekends have to be either fully packed with productivity or completely lazy isn't really true. Some people seem to have a way of making their weekends feel both restful and productive without burning out. It's not about working nonstop or squeezing in as many tasks as possible. It's about small, daily habits that set the stage for weekends that actually feel fulfilling. What are they doing differently? Psychology has some answers. 1. They plan their weekends before they start. The best weekends don't happen by accident. People who consistently feel productive on their days off don't just wake up on Saturday and hope for the best. They take a few minutes during the week, often on Thursday or Friday, to map out what they want to do. This doesn't mean scheduling every second or turning the weekend into a to-do list marathon. It's about having a rough idea of priorities, whether that's working on a passion project, catching up with friends, or setting aside time to recharge. Without a plan, it's easy to fall into the trap of mindlessly scrolling, binge watching, or just drifting through the weekend without doing anything that feels meaningful. A little intention goes a long way. When it's time to rest, they actually rest, without guilt, without distractions, and without letting one bleed into the other. 3. They focus on what truly matters, not just what feels urgent. Warren Buffett once said, "The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything." Weekends can disappear under a pile of small, urgent tasks, errands, messages, random obligations that feel important in the moment but don't actually move life forward in a meaningful way. People who consistently feel productive on weekends don't just react to whatever demands their attention, they prioritize what actually matters. This doesn't mean ignoring responsibilities. It means being selective. Instead of spending hours responding to non-essential emails or running unnecessary errands, they carve out time for things that align with their bigger goals, whether that's deep work on a personal project, quality time with family, or even just intentional rest that leaves them feeling recharged instead of drained. Not everything needs an immediate yes. 4. They create routines even for their free time. Most people think of routines as something meant for workdays, morning rituals, structured schedules, productivity hacks. But the brain actually thrives on routine even during downtime. Studies have shown that decision fatigue, the mental exhaustion from making too many choices, can drain energy just as much as physical exhaustion. That's why some people waste half their weekend just figuring out what to do, bouncing between ideas, and never fully committing to anything. People who make their weekends feel productive remove this mental friction by having simple, enjoyable routines. Maybe they always start Saturday with a walk or dedicate Sunday mornings to planning the week ahead. These small rituals give structure without feeling restrictive, making it easier to step into the weekend with purpose instead of uncertainty. 5. They give themselves permission to rest without guilt. Resting isn't the opposite of productivity, it's part of it. People who always feel like their weekends were well spent don't equate productivity with constant action. They understand that running on empty doesn't lead to better results, just more exhaustion. Instead of forcing themselves to be on all the time, they build in periods of intentional rest and don't feel guilty about it. This is the key difference: intentional rest. Scrolling mindlessly or binging TV for hours usually leaves people feeling worse, not better. But when rest is a choice, whether it's taking a long walk, reading a book, or simply doing nothing for a while, it actually restores energy instead of draining it. The most productive weekends aren't packed from morning to night. They have space to breathe. 6. They stay mindful of how they spend their time. It's easy to lose track of time, especially on weekends. A quick check of social media turns into an hour. A short break somehow stretches into an afternoon. Before you know it, the weekend is over, and there's a lingering sense that nothing meaningful really happened. People who consistently feel productive on weekends are mindful of where their time goes. They're not rigidly tracking every minute, but they do pay attention. They notice when they're getting pulled into distractions and make a conscious choice to either continue or redirect their focus. 7. They make time for things that bring real joy. A productive weekend isn't just about getting things done, it's about making space for what actually feels fulfilling. People who walk away from their weekends feeling satisfied don't just fill their time with obligations or mindless distractions. They actively choose to do things that bring them joy, whether that's working on a creative hobby, spending time with loved ones, or exploring something new. It's easy to push these things aside, telling yourself there's not enough time or that they're not productive enough. But the truth is, these moments of real enjoyment fuel energy, motivation, and even better focus when Monday comes around. The best weekends aren't just structured, they're meaningful. 8. They reflect on their weekends before they end. Most people don't think about their weekends until they're over, when that Sunday night frustration kicks in, and it feels like time slipped away. People who always make their weekends feel productive take a few minutes to reflect before the week starts. They ask themselves what went well, what felt meaningful, and what they'd change for next time. It's not about overanalyzing every little detail, it's about being aware of how they spent their time so they can be more intentional moving forward. This small habit makes a big difference. Instead of repeating the same patterns, feeling like the weekend never quite went how they wanted, they adjust. They refine. They make sure each weekend is a little more aligned with what actually matters to them. The bottom line: the way weekends feel isn't just about what gets done, it's about how intentionally time is spent. Psychologists have found that people who reflect on their time and set small, intentional habits experience higher levels of satisfaction and lower stress. The difference between a weekend that feels productive and one that feels wasted often comes down to simple choices made during the week. Not every weekend will go perfectly. Plans will fall through, energy will fluctuate, and unexpected things will come up. But with awareness and small adjustments, weekends can start to feel less like something that just happens and more like something shaped with purpose. The best part: these habits don't just make weekends better. They create a mindset that carries into the rest of life, one where time feels more like an asset, not something slipping away.